Hey everybody, happy Friday. Welcome to the weekly wrap up. And Roger Scott is with me today. Roger, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And I got to tell you, I got something really juicy for us today. I think
Oh,
you're going to
awesome.
like this. This is very interesting. So, a lot of traders, a lot of professional traders, they like to pull the quarterly 13F filings. For those people who are listening to this broadcast, who are on this broadcast, who don't know what 13F filings are, 13F filings are a very simple form that hedge fund operators who have more than $100 million under assets have to, required by law, they have to report two things. They have to report all positions that they're holding within the last 45 days, and they have to report what positions they're accumulating over the last 45 days. So it's a double whammy. So some traders, if you were a lazy type of trader, you can just go to a Bloomberg terminal and you can just press a button and it'll give you the top 5 or top 10. But that's not fun because we all know what those are going to be. Those are going to be the Microsoft, the Intel. There's nothing interesting there. So I tried to do it a little sneaky this time. I tried to do a little differently. What I did was I had a couple of hours to kill. So what I did was this. I took the best performing 20 hedge funds over the last 2 months, okay? So I isolated the top 20 performers, and then I wanted to see their top 5 positions. And I wanted to see how many of those 20 funds that have been gaining the most had the same positions. Pretty interesting, right?
That's a brilliant strategy.
So I have it itemized, and I spent a couple of hours on this. This is really good information. Now, for the most part, I'm going to break it into 2 parts, and I'll do the holdings, and then I'll do the accumulation, okay?
Sure.
And I'll tell you how many times that stock is being held in those 20 funds in their top 5 position. But most of these are not surprises. Some are, some are not. But there's a couple of stocks here that are completely under the radar, and more than one fund held them. And I want to bring them to your attention, and I want to talk a little bit about them, okay? Because This is new, this is interesting, and this is literally like, totally flying under the radar, but we're seeing everything, and these funds are totally under the. So I thought this was interesting because I've never had the experience of owning some of these stocks. So let me give you this information, okay?
Sure.
So keep in mind, everything I'm talking about is out of 20. So this is out of 20, and these are all top 5 positions. Amazon, no surprise there, 11 out of the 20, okay? Facebook, 7 out of 20. Microsoft, 7 out of 20. Alibaba, 6 out of 20. I thought that was kind of interesting. Alibaba, Chinese stock, these are top gaining American US hedge funds. Google, not a big surprise there. But listen to this. Visa and MasterCard, 4 and 3 out of top 20. 7 out of 20 had Visa and MasterCard as their top holding. Next one, Shopify. Remember we talked about Shopify.
Oh, yeah.
Apple's the next one. Now, Apple's all the way down. Apple is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th place with only 2 of the 20 funds holding Apple. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
But the next one will blow your mind away. The next one I've never even heard of. And this is so interesting. Ticker symbol SE, C Limited. I've never even heard of this stock before. Okay.
Me either.
Yeah, it's an entertainment company or a video game company, something to do with Japan or Asia. Don't know anything about this stock. I'm going to do some research on it. It's breaking out like there's no tomorrow. Never heard of this stock before. Ticker symbol SE.
Huh.
And then the last 2 we've talked about. JD, we've talked about, and we've talked about United Health. Those are not. Right. But this C Limited, top out of 10% biggest holder in the top 20 hedge funds. C Limited. So I thought who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Apple, and then we're talking C Limited, okay? I mean, like, how do you put them even in the same, in the same? So So that's the holdings. That's not what they're buying. That's holding. Now let me
Right.
do what they're buying. You're going to flip out when I go through this list too. Top buying, Amazon, 8 out of 20. Next, guess what number
Wow.
2 is? C Limited, 4 out of 20. Top 20 buy, 20% holding of the top gaining hedge funds, the C Limited. And if you look at the price action, it's confirming. It's making all-time highs. So next one is Visa, and then we got one more that we never heard of. There's all of the others like Netflix, Facebook. We talked about Teladoc. Remember we talked about that one time?
Yeah.
We talked about Alphabet. We talked about ServiceNow. We talked about Workday. We talked about Uber. But this one more stock, that's fourth one, Datadog, D-Dog, 3 out of 20, D-Dog. Never heard of the stock before. It's a 15 out of the 20 stocks, out of the 20 funds, 3 hold this stock, D-Dog. Completely under my radar. So what I'm getting out of this is we better start looking at this D-Dog and this C Limited, because the top funds are already doing that. So I'm going to do a little more research, and hopefully I'll have more info for you by Monday. But I'm going to do some research, but I just thought this was very interesting.
Yeah.
Completely under our noses.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. And so what is it about C Limited that is such an attraction, in your opinion, at this early stage of research?
Honestly, right now, the only thing I could find is that it has very little correlation to what U.S. companies are doing, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I like to be very complete. I like to cross my T's and dot my I's. So I'm going to do a full report on these 2 stocks, and I'm going to tell you Monday what I find. But as of right now, I want everyone listening to this to know that these 2 companies, at least large hedge funds, they're accumulating these 2 stocks at the same rate as they're accumulating Amazon, Apple, and Visa. Okay. So how, what, where, I'm still finding out. But this is very, very important data. And this is data and I did not have. I'm very glad to hear that companies like Teladoc, JD, United Health, ServiceNow, which we just profiled a few days ago, Workday, are on this list. But when you start seeing stocks that we've never even heard of, and not just like, a 1, but we're talking number 2 buy after Amazon, this C Limited, and Datadog after Visa, the 4th most accumulated stocks. I'm going to start paying attention to these stocks, and I'll have more. And I'll have more info for you on Monday. But so far, this is something that most people listening to us should start looking at. I mean, if we're talking more interest in this stock than Netflix, Facebook, and Google.
Yeah. I see that they recently announced $1 billion aggregate convertible note 2 days ago. So that's interesting. They're raising a lot of money.
Yes. And again, I don't want to say things that I may regret later on, but I literally got this doc last night. They file it every 45 days, and this just came out public. And I got it on Monday, but I finished doing all this research last night. And when I saw this, it just blew me away, because this is really, this is not. See, this is why I do it the way I do it. I look at the top gaining funds instead of looking at the biggest funds. Because if you look at the biggest funds, you're just going to get your Amazon, your Netflix, your Facebook, your Alphabet. You're not going to get any of the intricate stocks. But instead, I wanted to see what the top gaining funds are holding. And this is what they're holding. And not just 1, not just 2, not just 3, 4, 3, 7, by a big number. So I'm going to start doing research, but I feel it's my obligation to tell you and your readers about this, because this is not something that we're seeing right now. I'm looking at your expression on your face. I don't think you're familiar with this stock, D-Dog, or
No, right outside of my universe for sure.
But this is very important, especially when you're finding out that some of the biggest hedge funds that know what they're doing right now are piling into this. And then lastly, before I conclude, I figured you may want to hear this. I took a snapshot of the 12 biggest subsectors that hedge funds are focused on right now. And I thought that would be a good thing to kind of leave everybody off with.
Right.
Artificial intelligence, digital payments, online dating, mobile gaming, e-commerce, live streaming. Those we've covered pretty well. The next one we haven't, esports. I thought that was kind of interesting. Esports, something to think about. Social media, an obvious one, but also kind of picky. Telehealth, we talked about that. Wealth management, online wealth management. That's a new one. Big data analytics. Well, we got that DDoG there. That's something I'm going to have to take a look at, but that's a big one. And Gen Z trends. I imagine that would be like 5G and maybe more 5G type of technologies, groundbreaking tech, sort of. But I think we've covered a great majority of these sectors over the past few weeks.
Yeah, I think we have. Well, that's intriguing. Out of that list, it's like almost entirely, in fact, entirely, it's all stay-at-home stuff.
Yeah,
which is kind of not a surprise, but it is intriguing to see to what degree, the capital flows and capital, movement has changed, in that those are the top sectors now, whereas previously it was like travel, tourism, some of these other energy production, like some of the stalwarts of our economic activity are now absent from the mix completely.
And they may stay that way. And it may, there's a statistic right now. They say that if a store or a restaurant is closed for more than 3 months, the odds of it remaining closed forever is over 60%.
Wow. Those are not good odds.
Those are not good odds, James. Those are not good odds. So I think we're going to see a big, big change in the world. It may be subtle. Well, subtle after what we went through. This COVID was nothing but subtle, but it may be subtle, but I think we're going to see major changes. And again, I keep going back to 9/11 and I keep going back to the security industry, how it completely changed. I think we're going to see a big change in, as you mentioned, farms, how we cultivate food, safety. I think there's going to be a lot more grants going into the government for health research. I think the world is going to become a little more greener as a result of this. I think there's going to be some changes. They're going to be gradual, but there will be some changes.
Yeah, you bet. All right, Roger. Well, that's a great little treasure trove of information and great jumping off point for some new research. I look forward to talking to you again on Monday and hearing about what you find out. But sounds like a great strategy following those 13 Fs. I'm going to dig into learn a bit more about those, and let's pick up that conversation next week again.